Hello everyone and welcome back to some more Rumbleslam for the channel. The first video, which was part of the viewer verdict series, was almost unanimously fours for seeing more Rumbleslam, so we're providing it super early into the new year. Happy New Year, by the way. And this time, instead of using the entire MDF ring, still using the base of it that you can see here, so it's raised off the table here, but we're going to be using the cloth map that comes in the starter box. So there's a few of these mats that came out for the game. One was a grass, one was a back alley. I think one was a version of this but with blood and stuff on it. So we're going to be using that. So there's no 3D turnbuckles or anything like that, but just showing what you get also as part of the two-player starter box. And mostly different wrestlers, at least on one side this time. Relying again on having two big name superstars on both sides though. Roughly playing to the $1 million you're supposed to, but I guess we'll cover the specifics as we look at both sides. So this is once again Team Rolling Bones, because they are all from that affiliation, including their star wrestlers, 3 of which we saw last time. You've got your basic mummy who likes doing, zombie rather, who likes doing grapples and is pretty good defense wise. Then you have the mummy who is a bit better at defense and a bit better at attacking, but not so dexterous and not so into doing grabs. And for their star players we have Gun, the big orc that we saw last time. Very sturdy. We never actually got to see his passive kick in last time, where if he drops below a certain health value he rages out. It's called Hulk out, and gets very, very, very dangerous. We might see that this time. And they're being joined by the Grave Digger, who is also pretty sturdy and very, very defensive. He rolls gold bronze +1 for his defense, and he's really good at grappling as well with the gold and bronze. So we'll see how he does for his first showing. And I forget which, but one side comes to 950,000 dosh, the other side comes to 975. Both sides are taking a random event card again like last time, which means one of them is technically exactly on $1 million dosh and the other is slightly over by 15k. We're just going to play that, it's not that big of a difference. And the other side this time is from all over the place really, so we can't really attribute them to a certain casino, but they are all new on the table. We have two halflings. We have the halfling brawler and the halfling grappler. That's the other half of one half of the starter set. They go with the ogre and the two humans that we saw last time. So they're both from Kaiser's Palace. But then we have Ice at the back here, who is a total free agent, much like Granite. He's actually very similar. So he can be with any casino and not provide or deny them their benefits. But then we have Chuck, the evil clown, and he is part of the Gamora casino, so he's just totally different. So I guess we'll just call these the Mismatched or the Misfits, I guess. And Chuck, speaking of which, is our first 100% of the time heel, which is a term in wrestling. He is a villain, he is a bad guy, he feeds off the audience not liking him. So if he ever rolls the crowd pleasing die, which is the one we saw quite a few times last time, this one here, he is looking for boo results. They count as successes for him. If he gets a cheer, he treats it as a blank. So there's no real downside to him rolling that crowd pleaser. He doesn't get a negative for a boo, and he just basically ignores cheers and treats them as blanks, which don't do anything. So he wants to get on the audience's bad side, and he's happy with that. So I think that covers it. Event cards will only be revealed once the game actually starts. And with that, we'll get the two sides into their corners. This video is sponsored by Noble Knight Games. Check out the video description below for an affiliate link that will take you through to their store, and it will help me out as well. Thanks. So both sides have their corners and have set up, and then also selected whose dex roll will be trying to decide who goes first in turn 1 of potentially 5. Win conditions remains exactly the same as last time. Whoever has the most dosh value of wrestlers left in the ring after 5 turns, or if everybody gets pinned or thrown out, then the other side obviously wins. So the Rolling Bones side down here picked the mummy. They actually picked someone who deliberately had a bad dex. They didn't want to go first, and that's the roll they eventually ended up with. However, there was 2 draws in a row, so this is actually the 3rd attempt results. The halfling grappler right here was selected by the Misfits, and they did actually eventually win after 2 draws on the roll. So I think that about covers it. If you didn't see the first episode of Rumbleslam, that goes into a bit more detail about anything we're doing here, but we're just going to jump in now to turn 1 with the Misfits going first. So the little halfling grappler got the game started. They don't have much HP, they're obviously very small and don't roll a lot of dice, but what they do have is very high popularity. They're popularity 1, which is the best you can have. And they've got a ton of AP. They have 5 AP and 4 movement points. The grappler just moved down a couple of points, spent 1 AP to bounce off the rope, coming in 5 right there, and then spending on his crowd pleaser another point. His crowd pleaser, which he did get with a roll of a cheer. This wrestler's grapple becomes 2 gold instead of bronze plus 1 until the end of his next activation. So although he's not doing anything else with his turn this time, until the end of his next turn, he's really good at grappling. And to indicate that, there is some plastic tokens, or acrylic tokens that come with the game. That's just going to be kept on his card to remember that he's given himself a buff. So the Rolling Bones had to go with the Mummy because that's whose dex roll was rolled at the start of the turn. He immediately spent 1 AP to bounce off the rope to go up his 5. You have to go the 5 before, unless you're interrupted, that is. Unless you have the rocket keyword, which I think Chuck does. Then he used his actual movement to walk over to this rope, spent a second AP to charge into the halfling, leaving him with 2 AP left. He then spent 1, oh sorry, first of all he did a rope attack there. A basic rope attack, which is what this dice is. So it's normally 2 silver plus 1 copper. He gets an extra copper for it being bouncing off the ropes, just doing a brawl attack off the back of it. And he got almost as bad a roll as it's possible to roll with a single success, which was successfully blocked. The halfling saw him coming. So, sorry, that was built into the rope attack cost. So he still had 2 AP left, which he spent to try and do Crucifix, which is his special version of a grapple. But because of that buff the little halfling gave himself, he successfully blocked that on 4 when the Mummy rolled 3. So the little halfling that could just took what the Mummy dished out and didn't get hit at all, didn't get hurt. So now both sides alternate activations with whoever they like. They don't have to do dex rolls or anything like that. Ice activated for the Misfits. He only moves 3 and has 3 AP, again very similar to Granite. So he moved along 3 and then he spent 2 instead of 1 to do his special version of a rope attack called Avalanche. He rolls 3 silver plus the 1 copper presumably for doing a rope attack, does 2 damage, and if you pass by any other enemy wrestlers you knock them down, although in this case he was only attacking the Mummy, so nothing extra. He got 5. The Mummy's defense though is 2 silver plus 1, so he got 6 and actually took no damage. Now he's not done yet because that cost 2 of his 3 AP, so he is going to do just a basic brawl attack, but we don't have enough dice to roll that out immediately, so we'll do that now. And just like that, Ice manages to do a single point of damage to the Mummy, who has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 health. So he's, well, stamina. So he has 5 stamina left. Just a little note on Ice and his passives. He has one called Glacial Skin, which means if anyone tries to do a grapple attack against him, you change 1 gold or 1 silver die in the roll against you to a copper die instead, because he's so slippery and cold, etc. And he also has a passive called The Wall. Friendly wrestlers in base contact with him have a defense of 2 gold plus 1 instead of their own, unless their own is better. So the little halfling there is now really tanky. So despite the halfling getting that nice big boost from Ice, Gun activated and wanted to try his hand. He started down here. He did a move to get aligned with the halfling, spent 1 of his 4 AP to bounce off the rope. He moves forward 5. He doesn't hit the halfling though because the halfling is on square 6. So he just comes to a stop in front of him, at which point he opted to do just 2 basic brawl attacks just to try and get a beat down through, basically, rolling 3 attack dice both times. This time the third die was a blank, so it just got used for the second roll. Got 5, going up against 2 gold plus 1, so that was against 7, not enough for a reversal, but fully blocked. Second one was a 4, and then thanks to that being, it is 2 gold plus 1, right? Yep. It is a draw, so nothing there as well. Thanks to Ice giving him some ice armor, I guess, and that halfling is basically indestructible. So for the Misfits, the other halfling activated, that's the halfling brawler, and this is not how I saw this fight going. So he started there, he's got movement 4, he went 1, moved diagonally for 2, 3, 4, and that put him in line with Gun. He then spent 2 of his 5 AP on Flying Headbutt, which has the rocket special rule, so he can shoot forwards 8 squares instead of a normal 5 for a rope attack. It costs 2 EP, you roll 2 silvers with 1 extra copper thrown in for it being a rope attack, and it does 2 base damage, and that's it. I'm not sure why there's an extra copper sitting there. So he did that, bounced forwards into Gun, and got the best possible result on all 3 dice. Gun rolls a silver and a gold, got 3, which means he lost the the grapple or the attack there as a halfling E-Hondas his way into his liver, I guess, from that angle, and beats him by 6. So that's 2 damage to Gun just off the bat. It has shove 2, so he goes 1, 2 from the impact of it getting him in the side like that. And it's a beatdown by 6, which means it does 2 extra damage and dazes him. Now, I need to check what daze does. A successful hit from the attack with this special rule in its description makes the opposing player roll a crowd die and apply the listed effect to the targeted wrestler. It's a blank. The blank means the wrestler receives a knockdown counter, -1 AP and -1 movement counter. Wow, he got really, really hurt by that attack. Just for the record, the game does come with tokens you can use to show minus movement, minus AP. There's also bluish kind of clear ones for when you have plus AP or plus MP. Just so the ring isn't cluttered, these are getting kept on status cards, but that's what they look like. Some additional little notes on knockdowns. I don't remember if we covered that last time or not. A knockdown wrestler who is conscious still counts as defense 0, and they need to spend 1 AP to stand up. That plus the -1 AP means that Gun is starting his next turn with 2 AP once he stands up. But if he loses 1 more health, his passive will kick in and he hulks out, and they're going to be very scared of him if that happens. Second last activation for the Rolling Bones. The zombie walked his 4, paid 1 to bounce off the ropes and ended up in the exact same square that Gun was in before getting shoved back. A little dangerous, but he has a halfling who isn't getting buffed by being adjacent to ice, so he decided to spend 2 of his remaining 3 AP on a suplex, which includes the daze special rule as well. And if you're successful in the attack, you swap positions with the wrestler you attacked. 2 silver, 1 copper versus a defense of silver. He beat him with it, and not only did he beat him, he beat him down by an extra 5. But first of all, you swap places with the person you attacked, because you suplexed them, Leon Kennedy style, for 2 damage. Beat him by 5 though, which means 3 damage in total, and shove 2, but he'll come to a rest in that square there. And then we have to roll for dazed on him. And it was a blank again, which is the exact same result as Gun got, which means he's also knocked down, like that, and has -1 AP and -1 movement. Now he did have 1 AP left he could have done a brawl attack with. I think the shove is not optional though, so he can't really do anything because he's used his full movement. So the final one to activate for the Misfits was Chuck the Evil Clown. Well, I just assume he's evil, his hands are covered in blood. He moves 4, so he did so to get over here, and then he spent all 4 AP to do his special version of an off-the-ropes attack called the Drive-By Clothesline. He can pass over people when he does it, and if he does, they take 2 damage, but he wanted to just attack the zombie, obviously, because that's who's in range. I presume you're allowed to stop, because it does have the rocket rule built in. You roll 1 gold plus 1, plus the copper die for it being a rope attack, so you got a massive 7. And the zombie's defense is pretty good though. It's 2 silver plus 1, which means he got 3. So 7 playing 3, he lost that by 4. So he takes 2 damage by default from the attack itself, plus 1 for the beatdown of it being over by 4. And it has the jump rule, so I think that means he's allowed to pass over people. Maybe it means he's forced to jump over people. Let's just quickly double check the jump rule. Attacks with this special rule allow the wrestler to move through squares. Allows. Okay, so not requires. That's fine. And yeah, turnbuckle attacks where you like bounce off the corners of the ring have that by default because you're flying through the air. But in this case we don't need to because that's what he's doing. So he did a total of 3 damage, which is pretty good. And that leaves the zombie with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's on half health. But now it's just over to the Gravedigger to take us to the end of the first turn. So from where he started, the Gravedigger moved 1 of his 4 movement off the, like right at the end of the screen there. Paid 1 to bounce off that rope, which put him up 5. You are allowed then to use up the rest of your movement points if you wish. You can stop and do attacks. So he still had 3 left. It got him here. He wanted to actually get to the turnbuckle, but didn't quite have enough movement. So instead, he spent the rest of his AP, 3 of it, on his special version of a rope attack to do into ice, called a running choke slam, which is 3 silver dice and plus the bronze for a rope attack. He got a massive 7 against Ice's 2 gold plus 1, so he got 3, meaning he lost by 4, so it did a total of 3 damage, and Ice has like 12 health, I believe, and it does knockdown. And as far as I can tell, Ice is not immune to knockdown, so he is on his butt and able to get quite badly hurt if he stays down there. And he's not likely to go first in the second turn because his dex is terrible. Well, not terrible, it's silver +1. But he's starting to crack a little bit. So that takes us to the end of the first round. So at the end of the first turn, I did not expect to see halflings roughing up a giant orc named Gun, but they did. They just walloped him, flew into his side E-Honda headbutt style, and knocked him off his feet, gave him some negative debuffs. He's still probably going to have to be the one to try and activate first in turn 2 just to recover from all that, rather than risk getting pinned or anything. But yeah, that was an unexpected round. Ice being on his back is also dangerous for the Misfits. He's really got to get up onto his feet and then provide those defense buffs and basically just be a nuisance, because he isn't really super great offensively. He is more about protecting the team while they do the damage. Chuck seems scary though, so he is not to be one to be ignored. He's got an attack of 2 gold +1 and a dex of 2 gold as well. So if he chooses to try and go first, chances are he will. But let's see who's rolling, and also if any event cards are being activated. So at the top of the second turn, both sides tried to get up their knockdown wrestlers, as in they're the ones who are rolling their decks to try and activate first. The first results, with Gun rolling a gold and a bronze, and Ice just rolling a silver +1, was actually a draw, because the one blank on the gold got rolled. So it had to be a reroll, and this time the only 4 on that gold die came up trumps, so that means that Gun has to activate first, with Ice going after him. Both sides are electing to use their random event cards as well, so don't know what these are. They're going to be revealed live. This is for the Rolling Bones. Let's see what it is, good or bad. It is incredibly bouncy ropes. Until the end of the game, every wrestler gains the rocket special rule on all rope attacks and rope abilities. Wow! So everybody is just bouncing off the ropes and going flying like they're elastic. So they can move 8, or they must move 8 rather, when they bounce off a rope instead of 5. We'll try and keep that within sight then, because it affects everybody, right? Not just every wrestler. Okay. And then the other side then, the Misfits, their event card is Excitable Fans. For the rest of the game, all friendly wrestlers subtract 1 from their pop, as in popularity, to a minimum of 1. Okay, so that means that only affects Chuck. It makes him popularity 1 as well, so the entire team is popularity 1. So not as big a boon, but at least it only affects them and not both sides, because that rocket, that could mean some very nasty off the rope attacks. But anyway, to Gun's turn, where he won't be doing much. Well, I was right that Gun couldn't do much with his turn, but what he did do mattered. So he immediately loses 1 EP and 1 MP because of his debuffs, which means he was rocking 3 movement points and 3 AP, one of which he had to spend to stand up, so he had 2. So he's only spending the 1, and he did it to try and pin the poor halfling brawler, who is conscious on the ground, but he does have less than half his HP remaining, because he has 5 HP, or stamina, I keep calling it HP, and he has 2 left, so it's just dice, copper dice equal to each other's weight. Gun is weight 2, the halfling is weight 1, and straight up dice roll, and the halfling is out of there. He has been pinned to a 3 count, and now the Misfits are down a body. Now, Gun is also still able to move up to 3, because he didn't move anywhere once he stood up. So he can still technically move and use that 1 last AP he has, but this halfling is still super buffed, because even though Ice is on the ground, he's still adjacent, so you might want to hide. We need to think for a second. Of course he had to go for it. He moved adjacent to the other halfling, who's now completely obscured by his biceps, and rolled against him 3 silver, but against that buff defense from Ice being there, 2 gold +1, he didn't hurt him. Still don't get to see a reversal happen, but couldn't hurt him. Oh, I almost spoke too soon. We almost saw a reversal right away. Ice had to activate. He was the one selected for the dex roll at the top of turn 2. He had to pay 1 AP to stand up as well, which means he only had 2 left, which means he can't really do much. So he's opted to do a basic brawl attack into the Gravedigger, rolling 3 silver dice. He got 4. The Gravedigger rolls gold, bronze, +1 for his defense, meaning that he got 7. If he'd gotten 8, he would have caused a reversal. As it is though, doesn't reverse it, just fully blocks it, takes the punch and keeps kicking. He's a walking zombie. But the last thing Ice is doing is using up that movement to just go like that, so that he's buffing Chuck and the other halfling. Oh, before we move on any further, when Gunn successfully pinned the halfling, should have rolled the cheer die to see if he got his cheer for free, and it turns out he would have. His cheer was: this wrestler's brawl attacks gain the day's special rule until the end of his next activation. So hopefully we'll remember that, and that means he could be dazing people next turn. Well, for the Rolling Bones, the Mummy activated and doesn't have a lot of options. He didn't want to try and grapple the Grappler because that's what they're best at. So he just launched 2 basic brawl attacks into the halfling to try and do some damage, rolling really well with the first 2 silver and copper die up here. However, the 2 gold plus 1 from Ice buffing his defense was not surmountable and was very nearly, well, actually it was a draw. The second roll though was much worse, rolling just a single success on any of the dice. It was 2, but still going up against 5 means no damage. No reversal still, but no damage. So the last thing he's doing, because he hasn't actually moved yet, is he is moving away down here, and that's it, just to try and get away. Chuck the Scary Clown activated for the Misfits second and launched 2 brawl attacks into the quite badly wounded zombie there. 2 gold dice plus 1 versus 2 silver dice plus 1. His first result was a 5, which was met by a 4, meaning 1 damage gets through, leaving the zombie with 2 stamina remaining. Next roll was a total of 6, however that went up against a total of 6, so nothing there. He hasn't used his movement yet. He is moving though 1, 2, 3, 4 into the corner up here, so that's where he'll be when we come back. Second last activation for the Rolling Bones was the Grave Digger, who moved away from Ice against the rope down here. Again, you can move diagonally, not limited to orthogonal movement. And then spent 3 of his 4 AP on another running choke slam, this time aiming for the other halfling, smashing into him for a massive 9 damage. Although again, he's rolling 2 gold plus 1, so he actually blocked 6 of it and avoided a beatdown, taking just 1 damage of his 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, so he has 4 left. He is, however, knocked down by the attack, which is a little awkward based on his positioning. And from where he's standing, the Gravedigger is going to spend his last AP to try and pin him. Well, there you have it. It is a straight roll for weight, as far as I can tell. In fact, he's only weight 1. Why did he roll 2? Oh, there was a reason for rolling 2, because he has more than half his stamina remaining. He has 4 of his 5. If he'd had full, he would have been rolling 2 extra copper dice, which might have actually made him survive. Such as it is though, the Gravedigger is weight 2, so he rolls 2 copper, and his 3 beats that 2. So this little halfling has been pinned, and he is out of there, and that means the crowd die gets rolled, and it is a cheer. What is his crowd pleaser? Pick an enemy wrestler in base contact and immediately make a grapple attack against them. This causes 2 damage and has the knockdown special rule. If only he could have comboed that into I. Oh wait, diagonal counts as adjacent. Never mind, he can do this. Oh yeah, it says base contact and diagonals count. Yeah, and immediately make a grapple attack against them. And it does 2 damage with knockdown. Alright, we'll roll that out. Ah yeah, I was totally forgetting, of course, that Ice's passive is really bad. If you try and grapple him, it changes a gold or a silver to a copper. So normally the Gravedigger would roll a gold and a copper. He's rolling 2 coppers though against him. Obviously didn't lift him, and thankfully just missed out on getting it reversed as well. So that could have been a crowd pleaser that went horribly wrong. So with both halflings out of the ring, it is just down to the final activation for the Rolling Bones. It was the zombie who was close to death. He immediately tried to spend 2 AP on his crowd pleaser, which would have let him heal some health back. And he rolled a boo, which not only means it doesn't go off, but he gets a -1 AP counter that will apply in his next turn. He still had 1 AP left to do something with though, so he walked up to Ice here, rolled an attack against him, and could not get through his 2 gold plus 1 defense, with him rolling a 2 against Ice's in total 4. And that actually does take us to the end of the second turn. And at the end of that second turn, with losing both their halflings, the Misfits are obviously on the back foot now, although Ice and Chuck are very powerful. Chuck hasn't been hurt at all, and Ice still has 9 of his 12 stamina left. I'll keep doing that. Stamina left. And as far as Team Rolling Bones, that zombie, he just couldn't heal from his crowd pleaser, so he is very close to being stunned. Gun, I think, has 4 stamina left, the Mummy still has 5, and the Gravedigger is untouched, and I think he has 8 or something. So it's still to play for. They're obviously on the back foot and when it comes to total number of activations, but we'll see what happens as we go into round 3 of a potential 5. And to get the third turn started, Gun wanted to activate first for the Rolling Bones, rolling just 2 on his gold and bronze, and Chuck decided to be the one of the 2 to activate for what's left of the Misfits, rolling those 2 gold dice and winning the roll. So Chuck is going to get to do something first. So we're going to have to stay with the pulled back camera to cover everything that Chuck did during his activation. So he was here, he paid 1 to climb the turnbuckle, and normally turnbuckle attacks, especially special ones, list a maximum range, which his one called Razmataz does. It has a range of only 4. However, he has a passive called High Flyer. This wrestler may spend up to its remaining movement points, of which he had 4, to increase the range on turnbuckle attacks by the amount of MP spent. He spent all of it, so he had range 8 to just fly across the map with whatever the Razmataz is, I guess an elbow to the face, and he opted to land here. Gun was originally here, 1 square up, and got him in the face for 3 silver. He managed to get a 4 against the defense on Gun of 3, dealing 3 damage, and also causing a crowd pleaser die to be rolled. Now Chuck's looking for boos because he's a heal, so that actually just does nothing, sadly. He had 1 AP left, all said and done after that though, and the Razmataz has throw built into it, which is why Gun has been moved down. He pulled him into that space, chucked him there. He did a basic brawl attack against him, rolling 2 gold plus 1, getting a 6 against the defense roll of 3. Didn't get a beat down, but did manage to do 1 more to him, meaning that Gun has 1 stamina remaining. It is his turn though, and he hulks out now, which we'll cover in a second, I'm sure. But Chuck did some good work there. He is scary. We're going to have to do Gun's activation in steps because he is raging out. His passive Hulk Out kicks in if he has 5 or less stamina or 4 or less stamina. Either way, what it does is it gives his basic attack plus 3. So he did a basic, oops, as I hit the camera, brawl into Chuck. So that 6 actually is 9 going up against 2. So he beat him by 5. So not only did it do more damage than normal, he also had dazed. And as far as I can tell, Chuck counts cheers as blanks. So, and it has a crowd please, I think, as well. No, sorry, his crowd please is what gave him dazed on his attacks, and it built in has knockdown because of the difference in what was rolled. A difference of 7 is plus 2 damage plus knockdown. So Chuck took 3 of his 8 health, is knocked down, and Gun's not finished there because that was only 1 of his AP used up. His plan, and we'll probably just resolve both these things and come back, he's going to brawl him again against a defense of 0 in the hopes of doing enough damage to get Chuck below half health. And then he's going to try and pin him because they're too far away to chuck him out the edge of the ring. So he's just going to try and pin him. Well, that went pretty spectacularly because a knockdown wrestler counts as defense 0. So that is just a straight up roll of 6, 7, 8 plus 3 because of him hulking out. So the beatdown table only goes to 8. It doesn't do anything beyond that. But 8 or better is opponent instantly reduces stamina to 0. So Chuck went from 5 stamina remaining to unconscious, meaning that when it came to the pin he was only just rolling 1 flat copper against weight 2 from Gun. And he didn't roll very well, but against the 0, 1 wins. So Gun gets his 2nd pin of the match and the 3rd overall for the entire team, and the mighty, evil, sinister, horrible clown is gone. And does that cause a crowd please? It does not. They are booing Gun. Hulkamania, it means nothing to them. But it's looking real bad now with the Misfits only having Ice left. It may not look like Ice moved, but I assure you he did. He moved back against the rope and then spent 2 of his 3 AP on his avalanche again. And because he came to rest against the zombie, he is in contact with the Gravedigger, so it just automatically does knock down, except because it affects any enemy wrestler he touches except the intended target. So the Gravedigger is knocked down. He had 1 AP left. Oh sorry, there's the roll for the attack itself with the extra for it being a rope attack. He did beat the defense roll, not by enough for a beatdown, but enough to do 2 damage, which resulted in the zombie reaching 0 stamina and falling unconscious. And then what followed was an attempt to pin him, with weight 3 ice, just a glacial chunk of ice falling on you to try and pin you, there wasn't much he could do, so of course he rolled a blank, and that does mean the zombie is out of there. And then we roll the crowd die and see if... oh, it rolled off the table. No, the crowd didn't like that. That was a boo. So there is no... what would his crowd please have done? Each enemy wrestler gains -1 move. That's probably not going to be that big of a difference anyway. But he doesn't get his crowd please. Even the odds ever so slightly, not by much. The zombie obviously doesn't get to activate now. But the Gravedigger and Mummy do, in whatever order they so please. As foolish of a notion as it was, the Mummy had the brilliant idea of trying to grapple Ice, because if he could get the crucifix off on him, then it would have meant that the Gravedigger could just go to town on him, because his defense counts as it's 1 copper, I think. Normally rolling a silver and a copper for that crucifix attempt, reduced down to copper because of Ice's passive. He still almost did it. He came so close. They actually did a draw, but a draw isn't good enough, obviously. And that used up 2 of his 4. Actually, you know what? He could just do a couple of basic brawl attacks after that. So he might as well try. Well, let that be a lesson to you kids. Never try. He got 4 through on his first attempt at attack. 2 silver, 1 copper versus 2 gold plus 1. So the 5 beats that out. Second one was a 3 versus a 3 for nothing. Well, the Gravedigger paid 1 to stand up. Then he walked against the rope and spent the last of his AP to do another, what was it called, the running choke slam. Again, just trying to knock Ice over. Rolled pretty badly for what he was rolling. Ice rolled very well for his defenses, +1 to that. So he actually got 7, which means he beat the attack roll by 3. Not enough again for a reversal, but enough that he just laughs and takes no damage. And that is already the end of the round. And at the end of the 3rd round, there is obviously only 1 remaining for the Misfits, but Ice is standing strong with 9 health remaining and is able to clearly take a beating. Gun is real close to getting taken down after Chuck went to town on him. He's got 1 stamina left. The Mummy's still got 5, and the Gravedigger... did he lose any? No, he just got knocked over. He hasn't lost any yet, so he's still got his full 8 or so. It might just go to time at this rate. I'm not sure if they'll be able to get Ice out the ring. This is like that Royal Rumble where nobody could throw Zumo, whatever his name was. R.I.P. But we'll see what happens as we go into what could be the penultimate round. And as we start round 1, obviously Ice was rolling decks for the Misfits. Gun was rolling for his side because he wants to try and have a turn before anything untowards happens. He won the roll, so he'll be going first, and then over to Ice, and then Gravedigger and Mummy get to do whatever, unless they get taken out. Well, Gun is getting right in there to try and take advantage of that +3 attack from hulking out. His first roll being a 7, but getting blocked by a total of 9 by Ice. He just laughs as he tries to break the ice. That was consolidated down because the 3rd silver die was a blank and used to roll here. He only rolled a total of 5 once you add on the +3, but that does not beat 5. But he still has AP left, and he wants to try and do another brawl. So that means he has to roll the cheer on the crowd pleaser die to see if the audience are on his side. It rolled off the table, but it is a cheer, so he is going to get to keep attacking, or rather 1 more time. And he can still do 1 more after that. I believe you have to roll 2 crowd pleaser dice if you want to do 4 dirty moves. Let me just see here. 2 or more you roll, yeah, and then you roll 2 crowd dice, and if either of them is a boo. So we're definitely doing 1 more attack, but he's going to try and do 1 after that, so we're going to roll for that now. And he actually got a double cheer. They want him to try and break that ice, so he's going to do 2 more full attacks. Oh, the crowd are cheering him on, and he's doing much better. This time rolling 9, 10, 11 against 5, getting beat by 6. So it does 1 damage normally, but the extra 6 means it does 3 in total because it does 2 extra. It also dazes him, so we have to roll the daze die in this case. What does a boo mean for daze? Let's just see. I'm on the wrong page of the rolls, sorry. Daze, if you roll a boo, the wrestler receives -1 AP, -1 MP. That is actually really, really bad for him because he has only 3 MP and 3 AP normally, so now he has 2 of each. But it doesn't end there because Gun does have 1 more attack, and the defense roll has already been rolled for. These dice have already been rolled. Is a total of 3. His attack has not been rolled yet because all the dice were needed, so we're going to do that live for the 4th and final attack this turn that he's allowed to do. So that is 6, which means it's 9, which means he has beaten him by 6 again for another total of 3 damage, leaving him on 3 stamina. And then I presume you would roll again, because again it's done days. At best you can knock him over, but the cheers, no effect. But they're loving it. They are loving him just machine gun punching this ice, and finally some cracks are appearing. There's actually a chance. Oh, the tables are turning as chunks of ice fall off of ice. He did the same thing he did last turn. He walked away with his 2 movement to reach the rope, and then spent the only 2 AP he had to do avalanche again, bouncing off the ropes, aiming for gun this time to try and knock him unconscious because he's too dangerous. Because he touches the mummy and gravedigger, they both get knocked over again. No damage or anything, they just get dazed. And he tried his hardest to get into the roided out gun, only rolled 2 on the 3 plus the extra copper for bouncing off the rope, and gun took it to the face and is just still fighting. No damage. Well, the mummy spent 1 AP to stand to his feet, and it was basically the same turn for him again. He started with a basic brawl, getting a total of 4, but a total of 4 was blocked. He still can't shatter the ice. Then he's a fool to himself. He tried to do his crucifix grapple move again, getting reduced down to 2 copper and rolled goose eggs. Absolutely nothing. Although ice only rolled 3, so still not enough to see a reversal happen, but enough that no damage was done. And the only thing the gravedigger could do was exactly what he did last time. He spent 1 AP to stand up, he walked to the rope, he paid his 3 AP to do a running choke slam to again try and knock ice over, and he rolled much better this time, but so did ice. Apparently the only person capable of wounding him is Gun, because he took no damage, taking us to the end of the penultimate round. He's hanging on by a thread, but the crowd are loving it as Gun and Ice just beat each other to pulp, and that means we're going the distance. We are going into the 5th and final turn to see how this all ends, and this is very violent. And at the top of the 5th and final turn, there is a dramatic burst of speed from Ice, as he does actually win the dex roll against Gun. So he is going to get to go first. They're still grouped in the same way, so you know what he's going to do, but let's see if he can actually take someone out with it this time. Bouncing off the back rope again, using avalanche for 2 of his 3 AP. Yep, he uses 2. Knocking down the gravedigger and the mummy again. In the process, he slammed into Gun, rolling a total of 3 successes, and Gun just laughs. He takes it and stands. He doesn't get downed. However, this time around, Ice has 1 extra AP, and he has spent that to try and pin the mummy, who has less than half stamina remaining. He has exactly half actually, so maybe that means he gets to roll 2. So that's Ice's roll already made to try and pin him. Doing it live, can the mummy resist getting flattened? And the answer is no. Lost by 1, so the mummy is actually out of there and will not be getting a turn. Ice was able to pin him with his last AP. So it all comes down to the gravedigger, who has spent 1 AP to stand up. Now, there's no real point of him doing the same mock back here and then do the running choke slam, because even if he succeeds and knocks out or knocks down Ice, he's still in the ring, and it's not going to change the outcome. They'd still win. He wants to try and go for the Hail Mary, though, of actually getting Ice out of the ring. So that leaves 2 choices. Hope that you roll really well with an attack roll and beat him by enough that it does 3 total damage instead of 1, which would mean he'd need to beat him by at least 6. Not super likely 2 silver and a copper versus 2 gold plus 1. So he's going to try and do something incredibly stupid and try and lift him up and chuck him, because that would be hilarious if it actually works. So we're going to do the rolls for this live. First of all though, and this is the first stumbling block where it might just not be possible, he has to do a crowd please just to be allowed to do it, because it's a dirty move. Are they on his side for him doing this? They should be. They're not. So unfortunately he loses 1 AP and he is not allowed to do the lift. That means he only has 1 left because he had to pay 1 to stand up. He might as well just do a basic attack. Even if he maxes this out, there's no real chance it's going to do anything. But hey, stranger things have happened. Yeah, with 3, even if he rolled 2 blanks, it's not going to do anything. No, sadly not. So time is called on the match. Ding ding ding. And at the end of our second showing of Rumbleslam on the channel, it comes down to the points of conscious wrestlers left in the ring for both sides. Obviously, Ice is the only one standing for the Misfits. He's a free agent. He isn't even with any of them. He is worth 325,000. Gun is worth 275,000, and the Gravedigger is worth 300,000. So that's a total of 475, playing 325. So it is a win for the Rolling Bones, and that was a fantastic slug match between Ice and Gun. That could have been so different if Gun had been taken out, but that passive, the Hulk out passive, yeah, 4 or less stamina. So from 4 onwards, he gains +3 to his attack. So it's 3 silver +3, ridiculously powerful. Doesn't improve his defense roll, but his base defense roll being gold silver is just good in general. So that was a great mental image of him just punching and punching and punching, and chunks of ice coming flying off. But in Ice's credit, he stayed in the ring, lived to the end, and did really well. The Gravedigger seems fun as well. He kept on getting resisted when he was doing those flying choke slams. The fact that it has knockdown built in makes that really, really powerful. The star wrestlers in general are obviously really powerful. I think I mentioned at the top of the video, like apologising almost, that we have to keep on using star wrestlers, because it means the little wrestlers, the no-name people like the Mummy and the halflings, they're probably going to get beat up. Although saying that, one of the halflings almost took Gun out in one turn doing a flying headbutt at him, which is a very funny mental image. Although him doing that is what brought him closer to hulking out in the first place, so maybe it wasn't such a good thing in the long run. But either way, I hope you have enjoyed this second showing of Rumbleslam on the channel. There will be more to come. It was almost unanimously voted for in the viewer verdict video, and go check that out if you haven't already. Try and get the other half of the starter set needs to be done for a start, which would also let us do a match where there's more normal wrestlers as opposed to special ones. But you could also let me know, do you mind it being quite populated with special wrestlers? It means in general there's going to be less people in the ring, but they have more fancy stuff. You're rolling higher dice. There's more spectacle if there's a bunch of special wrestlers in the ring. But you can let me know what you prefer, and we can adapt going forwards. Thank you for watching though. I hope you still support the series and are looking forward to the next match in the squared circle. Until then, ta-ta for now.